Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Buckets. I forgot to charge the battery for this camera, so hopefully it doesn't die midway through recording this. Zach LaVine made an all-star team today, so I'm in a pretty damn good mood. I do want to talk about the all-star game just in general. There's a couple of people complaining about snubs and stuff like that, and I just want to go over that. So the first big one has to be Devin Booker. The thing about that is that the question of who should he actually replace, because I saw Legend of Winning on Twitter was like, why is Zion getting this team over Devin Booker, or getting this spot over Devin Booker? But the thing is how positions work, and because positional voting is a thing, yeah, it's just how the cookie crumbles. It's unfortunate that that's the reality of the situation, but it is. I have advocated for a while now that positional, but especially conference voting, should be removed entirely from the All-Star game. Basically, I believe it's 15 players per team, if I'm not mistaken. So it should just be the top 30 players in the NBA, period. After that, it's done. Chris Middleton, unfortunately, he suffers from he's a boring player, so no one likes to vote for him syndrome. I don't know. Trae Young did not make it. That was probably, I'd argue that was a bigger one. But at the same time, I'm not complaining about it too much, just from the simple fact that Trae Young is, I'm not a huge fan of his lately, which I don't think anybody is, and B, him being on the team could have meant Zach LaVine isn't on the team, so no thank you. I'm actually going to talk about the Hawks a bit today, so stay tuned for that. Vucevic got in over Sabonis. Honestly, I don't care one way or the other. Like, this is probably not fair at all, but for me, when I see a player that I'm just not interested in at all, and they don't make the All-Star team, I'm like, whatever. I'm sorry, I don't care that Sabonis didn't make the All-Star team. The All-Star team doesn't matter nearly as much to me as I think it does to a lot of people. It mattered to me when I have a guy that I'm really rooting for to make it, like Zach LaVine this year, but that is pretty much it. I'm sure there's some other guy who is snubbed that I'm ignoring right now. I'm trying to think if there's a name that I'm missing, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But congrats to the first-time All-Stars, Zion Williamson, Zach LaVine, Jaylen Brown, and who is the other one? Julius Randle. Yeah. Julius Randle is a player that I kept expecting to come back down to earth, but he just seems to be a whole lot better this year. That's what I had to say about the All-Star stuff. I don't think I have any too controversial opinions there. Like, yeah, Booker and Trae probably deserve a spot, but also, like, who are you removing when you consider the fact that positions are a thing? Ja Morant was unhappy with the fact that he didn't make an All-Star team, but, like, bro, you're putting up basically the same numbers as last year, and you weren't better than a lot of guys who didn't even make the team. So yeah, whatever. That's all I got to say about that. So I watched 3 games today. 2 of them were great. One of them had the potential to be great, but really wasn't. I watched Hawks versus Cavs, Celtics versus Mavericks, and Blazers versus Nuggets. I guess Hawks versus Cavs, even though it did end in a game, fuck, the battery died. It really died 3.5 minutes in. I'm fucking sick. Yeah, so Hawks versus Cavs. That was a close game. The title of this video is "The Hawks Are the Biggest Disappointment of the 2021 Season." There's a lot of disappointments this year. You could argue it's the Celtics, but let's just talk about Hawks versus Mavs. The camera battery dying completely knocked me off of my flow. Rhyming accidentally. I only have a few notes for this one, but really, what mattered most was the end of this game. The Hawks had a pretty sizable lead, and the Cavs just kind of chipped away from it. Trae Young had a really stupid final play. He dribbled up and, like, even though there was defense there, he had an opportunity to put up one of his deep three-pointers, and he, like, threw a pass to a guy who was open in the corner, which, like, that's the right basketball play if there's not 2 seconds left on the clock. But by the time the guy got the ball, the shot clock had already the game clock had already expired. So I don't know what that was about. The Hawks in general, there was no John Collins in this one, I believe. He might have started earlier because I wasn't paying too much attention to the start of this game. But he definitely was not finishing for them. Yeah, he played 13 minutes. Did he get hurt? He must have got hurt. Hope he's all good. I'm pretty sure it was also Tony Snell who got the ball late game, which, like, that's not the decision you go for. Colin Sexton, as you could predict with Trae Young guarding him, had a good game. This was just a disappointing game. I mean, it was more the Hawks losing this than it was the Cavs winning it, even though I'll give that credit to the Cavs. Also, Jarrett Allen or, or not. Is it? Yeah, it's Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen. Yeah, he's been really good for the Cavs. He's hitting mid-range shots. He hit a three-pointer today. I don't know. Did he hit another one? Because I know he hit at least one. He only hit 1 3. He's been taking them from time to time, and he's not. It doesn't look horrible when he puts them up. I don't know what his numbers are on it, but Allen, like, getting him for a late first round pick on a rebuilding team when he's young, like, that's a fucking steal. So shout out to Jarrett Allen. But yeah, that Trae Young play at the end, that was rough. If I can talk about the Hawks in general, I mean, to me, it is mostly injuries. I don't think it's Trae Young's fault. I don't know if people are coming from with that perspective. Trae, even though he's annoying to some people, and I'm not the biggest fan because of all the foul baiting he does, because I just inherently cannot enjoy players who do it to that extent. Other than Luka Doncic is like the one exception, but of course I don't like that aspect of it, of his game. But like, just because Trae Young's annoying doesn't mean he's not good. Like, so many people are saying he sucks. When people are talking about Trae Young not making the All-Star team, they're like, oh, he's not good. Yes, he's good. Shut up, you dum-dums. Hawks, it's like Bogdanovich hasn't, I don't think he's played a game for them. Chris Dunn has not played a game from them. DeAndre Hunter, who's breaking out this year, has been injured a lot. Danilo Gallinari has missed games. Now John Collins is hurt. I don't know what that is. But the Hawks, it's mostly injury that's led to them being disappointing. It's other factors as well, but they're still the most disappointing team in the league regardless. Anyway, Celtics versus Mavericks. Speaking of other disappointing teams, there's been some Kristaps Porzingis trade rumors. I don't have too many thoughts on them right now. I guess the only one I'd have is, like, I don't know that you're getting anything that's more valuable than Kristaps Porzingis in a trade, and you're also probably getting back a bad contract regardless. So I would just hold on to Kristaps Porzingis more than likely, unless there's just a clear-cut good move out there. But Kristaps, he's been fucking disappointing, because we were talking about him being a fucking superstar not too long ago. Jalen Brunson went off in this fourth quarter. It seems like literally any time I watch a Mavs game, Jalen Brunson is doing good shit, but then I go and look at his stats on fucking Basketball Reference, and he's averaging like 12 points a game. In this game, he didn't put up a lot of points, but he also put up like 12 in the fourth quarter. Like, almost all of his scoring came in the fourth. What was interesting here is that late Brunson leaned into his defender. I don't remember who it was that was guarding him, and to try and draw a foul on the three, and they called an offensive foul. That is what I like to see. I would also like to see that consistently called, but it's at least like the first time I've seen that actually called correctly. So that was nice to see Jalen Brunson not getting away with that foul baiting bullshit. This game I was mostly looking at it from the Mavericks perspective, because I was more interested in them. I've had a lot of thoughts about the Celtics thus far this year. But for the Celtics, I mean, they had a pretty sizable lead. I don't know how big it was. I think they got to like 10 points at one point. And it makes sense not to always hold that lead, but then they let the Mavericks get away with it. They made a late game push, which ended up getting the game tied. And if you've been paying any attention and you're not using me to summarize games for you, Luka hit the step back jump shot for three. And speaking of Luka shooting, this caused a kerfuffle on my Twitter, if I can use the word kerfuffle like a fucking boomer. I tweeted that Luka is a bad shooter, and yet teams fucking fear him late game. And that caused some people being like, what? I mean, yeah, Luka is a bad shooter. Look at this. He shoots 33%. First of all, after this game, I'm pretty sure his numbers went up to 35% from three. In the last 22, 23 games, he is shooting 38% from three on the same volume. But more importantly, with Luka and his shooting in general, when I say Luka is not a bad shooter, I'm fully aware that 33% from three is bad. The thing with Luka is he takes a lot of stupid three-pointers, but he's not in like this camp of, oh yeah, we're going to like sag off of him in the playoffs. Like, that's going to be our strategy for beating Luka, because that's absolutely not it. You're not going to see him getting treated like Giannis or Ben Simmons or Russell Westbrook. You're not going to see, I mean, three-point percentage can be deceptive, especially depending on what the threes are, if they're assisted, if they're not, if they're step back, if they're deep, if they're contested, if they're not, all that shit. Like, the perfect example of this to me is Al-Farouq Aminu, who like when he was on the Blazers a couple years ago, I think the year that they made the Western Conference Finals, Al-Farouq Aminu shot like 38% from three on 5 attempts. And teams were leaving him open in the playoffs, and they weren't fucking dropping because for all of his regular season, the guy shot nothing but wide open 3-pointers. So the camera battery died again. Someone shoot me in the face. I'm in the middle of making a point. If the battery dies again, you're going to get a black screen for the rest of it. I don't have the patience for this. I really got to charge the batteries next time. As I was saying, Al-Farouq Aminu, 38% from three that regular season, left open because it was just nothing but perfect looks for him. So he wasn't actually a good shooter. He was just in the perfect situation to have all these clean looks. Luka is taking all these step backs. He has defenses draped all over him. Of course, his three-point percentage is not going to look quite as pretty as his actual shooting ability is. So Luka, if you give him open looks, like no team is leaving Luka open. Like as I said, teams are fearing him on these shots. He is getting these heavy contests. So as much as you want to look at the numbers, and the numbers are perfectly valid for criticizing him for sure, he should reduce these stupid attempts that he's making or taking. Teams are scared of Luka's jump shot, and it's for good reason. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to take their word for it over you just being a fucking hater about it. Like, he's definitely not a bad shooter. I wouldn't say he's really a good one. I'd say he's more passable to, like, all right. But basically, he's a solid shooter taking great shooter shots. And then also you consider the fact that he is clutch as shit. Late game, I'm going to say he's a good shooter. And that's where it really matters. So shout out to Luka for that. I mean, he's up to 35% this year after a very rough start. I'm pretty sure he was like 5 for 25 at the start of the year, which is not good if you did not know. So, yeah. But that's what I have to say about the Mavericks for the most part. For the Celtics, like I said, blown lead. They made a decent comeback effort late. I was actually texting Noah Terra Nova about this game. He's a Celtics fan. And I was like, he tweeted that he was going to go away from the game. And I was like, dude, turn the game back on. He goes, trust me, they're gonna make a comeback attempt, and then it's gonna end poorly. And damn it, he was right. Blazers versus Nuggets. I'm surprised that this game was so low scoring. You would think that, Nuggets, one of the best offensive teams, not a great defensive team. Blazers, one of the worst defensive teams in the league, like 29th in defensive rating last I checked, and one of the best offensive teams in the league. This would be like a 120 to 125 affair. But no, if I look at the final box score, I don't think any team even cracked 110, or they might have with free throws late game. So yeah, Nuggets were 111 to 106. This was a game where it seemed like Jokic was shooting the ball every time. I looked at his stats. Jokic is on the verge of averaging a 26 point per game triple-double on 50, 40, 90. Just thought I'd point that one out. Like, what even is that stat line? Like, that sounds like something that is impossible to achieve, and he's like 1.5 assists and like 2.5% from the free throw line away from averaging that. Fucking insane from Jokic. This game, I believe, did he get 40? He was definitely close to it. He got 41. He shot the ball 32 times. It just seemed like there was a point where he went on a 10-0 run on him by himself. He complained to a ref right after he got a fadeaway at that, like the second quarter. He was just shooting the ball every fucking time. And Jamal Murray, as well as Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr., though, getting 9 shots. That's nuts. So I have some complaints about the Nuggets, even though they won this game. I'm sure Blazers fans want me to talk about Terry Stotts. While, of course, this offense can be kind of stagnant and it seems like he doesn't really do much, I don't know that he did anything in this game that like stood out to me as just blatantly dumb as a coaching decision. Granted, this could be, when you watch your own team, you notice things that most people are not going to notice who aren't a fan of your team. So it could be a situation like that where I'm not fucking stroke. I'm not seeing the things that you see. But I don't think this was like a huge goddamn Terry Stotts needs to be fired game, even though he does need to be fired. But the Nuggets, the reason why Jokic is having to shoot this many shots is that, what's the guy's name? Mike Malone keeps running this offense like this team is still incredibly deep like it was a couple of years ago. But being that they traded Malik Beasley, Jeremy Grant is no longer on this team, this team is not really all that deep. Like at all. I mean, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and Jokic, those are the only like good starters. I mean, Paul Millsap's pretty solid. Gary Harris is rough. They're starting Will Barton, who is very inconsistent and very hard to gauge. Some games he's really good, some games he's really not. And off of the bench, this this is painful to look at. Like Campazzo, I don't know how to say his name. He's a good playmaker and he's fun. I just don't know how actually impactful he is. Also, their center. I was talking to some guy on Locker Room about this. Their center, Zeke. Oh boy, I'm not even gonna try pronouncing that. He's been good. He's been a stretch 4 or a stretch 5 for them, so he can at least be a backup center option that's better than Isaiah Hartenstein. But even Isaiah Hartenstein is getting minutes. Yeah, this is left leg switch. This is the Nuggets are not doing great, and it's rough. I think they need to run a system that really implements Michael Porter Jr. more, and Mike Malone needs to treat this team like it's a team that isn't that deep. Like, stop running a system that is like equal opportunity, because you don't have the talent for equal opportunity anymore. Michael Porter needs to be shooting the ball 18 times a game. Same for Jamal Murray. Same for Nikola Jokic. That's all I got to say about Mike Malone. This video was much longer than I expected it to be. I guess the All-Star stuff carried over. But for this game, for the Blazers, actually, I did just put down Dame, CJ, and Gary Trent are going to be deadly, offensively at the very least. Like, those are 3 guys in your starting lineup who can average 20 rather easily for 2 of them. So that will be good. Yeah. I wrote down, I'm glad that I was wrong about Melo. Melo had a couple of tunnel vision-y moments later in this game that was like, dude, it's time to pass the ball. But he did finish with 24 on good efficiency. He hit a clutch 3 late that obviously didn't end up mattering, but I mean, I'll give him the credit for that. Is the jump ball thing late from this game going to be considered controversial? I don't really know the exact details of what qualifies as wrapping a player up for a jump ball or not, so I don't really have any take on that. If that ended up being a thing, I didn't see people complaining about it on Twitter, but who's to say? Yeah, this one was a little bit more rambly than I wanted it to be, but also the camera battery just completely ruined my flow. So next time the battery will be charged, I promise. But yeah, I think that's all I got to say. Oh, go watch the Zach LaVine video I just uploaded. It fucking tanked. It shouldn't be. It's a good video. Go watch it. All right, bye.